Alright guys, another Honkai Impact playlist. So this will be following up the last video that I put up, and it will still be explaining some laws and stuff. So this is one of the playlists that I got. I still have one left, and I think that'll be the final one, except some of you guys still send me some stuff. But yeah, let's get into this. I was happy that I learned a lot of things about the game. You guys should let me know a bit in the comment. Is it on mobile or can I have it on PS4? I'll have to check it maybe on Google, but if you guys don't mind, tell me in the comment. That'll be awesome. Yeah, let's get into this. So I have a couple of clips. Let's start with this. Every HERRSCHER we know about Honkai Impact 3rd. I think that is the name of the video. So this should go. I think this is ready. And, okay. Okay, cool. Let's get into it, guys. Let's go.
HERRSCHERs are probably the most common thing that will be brought up when people talk about Honkai. Because the informations on all the HERRSCHERs are scattered everywhere, I think it would be appropriate to take all the information available and condense it into a video that people can enjoy. In this video, I will give you the informations we have on all the HERRSCHERs going in order, looking at their powers, the people who became the HERRSCHERs, the actions they committed, and their importance to the plot. HERRSCHERs are labeled in order of appearance based on previous era records, with a few exceptions that I will talk about. So starting from the HERRSCHER of Reason, which has 3 characters we can talk about, all of them are from the current world. The power of the first HERRSCHER is Minecraft creative mode, able to construct anything the person understands. A perfect power for a nerd, which is what describes the people who became this HERRSCHER pretty well. The first person is Will Joyce. Although HERRSCHERs are supposed to enact the Honkai's goal of destroying humanity, this HERRSCHER with the power of reason decided that following the Honkai is stupid, and so broke free from the Honkai and became the first HERRSCHER to do so. In his time, he involuntarily destroyed Berlin, got captured by Schicksal, got sent to Schicksal NA, befriended the people in that branch, helped that branch secede from Schicksal, becoming anti-entropy, punched Otto in the face, and died defending New York from Schicksal. In his dying moments, he passed on his name along with the HERRSCHER Corps to
Joachim Nokian Virtanen.
He became Wirtgang, the second HERRSCHER of Reason. He fought Sirin to the nails during Second Eruption, taught Himiko during her teenage year, went undercover as a teacher at Saint Freya, allowing the events of AE invasion to happen, got stuck in the Sea of Quanta, created obstacles for Bronya to go through in her trip into the Sea of Quanta. After getting out of that place, he currently acts as the leader of anti-entropy, and as Bronya's mentor after giving his call to her, making Bronya become the third HERRSCHER of Reason. If we count Honkai Odyssey, Welt also got kidnapped into helping the first Divine Key stop an alien invasion. See my video on Honkai Odyssey for more details. Next on the list is arguably the most important HERRSCHER, the HERRSCHER of the Void. This HERRSCHER
seriously, I thought my screen was glitching, to be honest.
This power is pretty flexible, by which I mean that it's whatever MiHoYo can think of really. But the most important one is using this power to transport stuff through different dimensions. This power was used to either trap, like in the case of Siegfried, or to rescue, like with Fuhua in chapter 22. Sirin was the person who became the first HERRSCHER of the Void in current era 2000. She started the events of Second Eruption, read that manga for more details. Anyway, at the end she died. Her core was put into a clone made from the genetics of Sirin and Kiana. Courtesy of
we had the backstory of that.
Named K423 became the second HERRSCHER of the Void. As we know, K423 is the heroine of this game that calls herself Kiana Kislana. I'm sure we are well aware of everything she did in the story, so I'm moving on.
Yeah, I mean, I know about it. HERRSCHER of the Mind, HERRSCHER of the Void. I hope I don't. Oh, this May. I hope I don't forget it.
The first HERRSCHER is yet another HERRSCHER that broke free from the wheel of Honkai, and I would like to say, if the Honkai create HERRSCHERs to better destroy humans, then it's really not doing a great job at it. Just look at the current era HERRSCHER of Thunder for example. Raiden Mei somehow literally had her HERRSCHER personality for Kiana, and I'm not sure if it's just that Kiana is that good at making girls fall for her, although now that I think about it, that might actually be true. Anyways, the HERRSCHER personality ceased to exist after May became the HERRSCHER of Thunder again during
Kiana
chapter
is like
17.
an
So now she
LGBT
is
person?
100% in control of her body. The fourth HERRSCHER, Wendy, is the HERRSCHER of the Wind. Not much is known about her, but she showed signs of being able to break free from the Honkai. Unfortunately,
I was
that
right.
was interrupted
That was
and she was
either Wind
subsequently
or
killed
some
by Kukolia during
healing
chapter
magic.
3. The fifth HERRSCHER is yet another HERRSCHER that was almost able to break away from the Honkai. Anna Shariak, the HERRSCHER of Ice, is special in the sense of being the first of their kind to become a new type of HERRSCHER never before seen. This new type of HERRSCHER is created by fusing many different cores together. There were only 2 cases of this happening. The first in this case is the HERRSCHER of Rhymestar, and the other recent one is the HERRSCHER of Flame Scion from chapter 25. The sixth HERRSCHER, the HERRSCHER of Death, has never appeared yet in the current era. A common speculation is that it's going to be Seele, considering that she not only looks like this HERRSCHER, but also have the same stigma of this HERRSCHER. The power this HERRSCHER have is being able to heal or destroy things on a molecular level. We see this in action from the Gem of Serenity and the Divine Key made from the core of this HERRSCHER, the Abyss Flower. They can disintegrate anything with a corrosive form and can heal or revive people, like that time when Sirin got stabbed by Teresa during second eruption. Now for the rest of the HERRSCHERs coming up, we actually have a lot more info from previous era accounts. Starting from the 7th, which is the HERRSCHER of Fire. This HERRSCHER haven't appeared yet in the current era, but the previous era HERRSCHER of Fire is super important to the character of Fuhua. Her name is Himeko, which is not to be confused with Murata Himeko. This Himeko is
so I was wondering, is that
Captain
Himeko
to avoid confusion with the current era Himeko.
Okay.
Captain Himeko was in the Morph fighting against the Honkai. She saved Fuhua and became her mentor, but seemingly got corrupted for unknown reasons. Fuhua questioned this in the Divine Key manga, which made this an unresolved plot point that I would like MiHoYo to do something about in the future.
Okay, plot holes.
Next on the list is the 8th HERRSCHER. This HERRSCHER has the power of mind manipulation, able to create illusions and unending dreams. This previous era HERRSCHER applied this into the form of censorship. If you thought today's censorship isn't bad enough, if you were to read a single censored word, you would get divine punishment and get sent into a coma. This power seems really overpowered that it would be a major problem if this HERRSCHER were to appear in the current era, but luckily we got this HERRSCHER in the form of Little Sentience. Now to describe Little Sentience, she's basically a child throwing a temper tantrum for attention. She's not under the Honkai, she's got Fuhua memories, but mentally she's still a newborn. A highly dangerous newborn, that is.
I heard about this one.
Used her power to persuade Kiana and Bronya into trusting her. And I want to stress that she could have just mind manipulated them into trusting her like what a smart person would do. Instead, she showed them her stories and gave them the chance to decide which Fuhua they preferred. This HERRSCHER is technically not dead, still in Fuhua's mind, somewhere, which I would like MiHoYo to give her a closure to. The 9th HERRSCHER goes by many names. It's either the HERRSCHER of Earth, Rock, or Star. This HERRSCHER has the power of gravity, able to create black holes to cause massive destruction. The previous era 9th HERRSCHER was said to have had wiped an entire continent with a black hole. However, this HERRSCHER in the current era didn't do much because the person who became the HERRSCHER, the Road Serpent Officer Owl, fused with the HERRSCHER of Ice to create the HERRSCHER of Rhymestar, and Rhymestar was defeated in the span of a single stage. This HERRSCHER is relatively unimportant, unlike the last few HERRSCHERs. The 10th HERRSCHER recently appeared in the latest story arc, being the HERRSCHER of Domination. This HERRSCHER is a hive mind, with each individual the HERRSCHER being really weak, but their power comes from the ability to perform highly coordinated attacks against humans. The current era 10th HERRSCHER we saw in the latest chapter was actually more advanced than the previous era one, opting to sneak attack and stir up confusion rather than attacking head-on like what this HERRSCHER did in the past. The power of this HERRSCHER also allows it to take away other people's power and use it, like how it stole Bronya's power in chapter 23. The 11th HERRSCHER is the HERRSCHER of Binding. This HERRSCHER can manipulate energy flow, historically used this power to create a field that prevents any uses of Honkai powers in it. We can see this power in action in second eruption, where in that battle, Teresa was able to temporarily revert Siren back into her human form using the Oath of Judah, the divine key made from the 11th HERRSCHER core. The previous era 11th HERRSCHER was mentioned a lot in Elysian Realm, being the prelude to the formation of the Flame Chasers. This HERRSCHER pushed the previous era humanity into further desperation after what was said of the massive losses in that battle. Because this HERRSCHER has not appeared yet in the current era, we are left waiting to see how different would this HERRSCHER be if it were to show up.
Oh snap!
The
Okay.
12th HERRSCHER is the HERRSCHER of corruption, a sentient virus that can infect and control anything, including electronics. The
Damn, there are
previous
lots of
era's
HERRSCHERs
12th
though.
HERRSCHER was Sakura's little sister. And I'm talking about the previous era Sakura here. Her little sister.
I'm not gonna lie, there are a lot of HERRSCHERs, and I'm not even sure I can remember all of them. Like, just my first time seeing or hearing about it. Not too sure I will remember any of it. But there are quite a lot of them. You know, there are quite a lot of them. And I feel like one of the HERRSCHERs to look out for normally should be the HERRSCHER that can nullify HERRSCHER powers. That's probably the one to look out with, because if she's on a different team, you're kind of effed. But since it's a game, I don't know how they're doing with the story and stuff. But okay, let's go back. I would love to read you guys' theories. I read a lot of what you guys tell me in the comment. Before shooting this video, someone also commented that the company that does this, they are a Chinese company, and they kind of love like anime and stuff. So that's why the dubs are first of all in Chinese, and you have it in Japanese, and there's no English dub yet. So let's keep going. That's all I had to say.
Ren, even though she's the HERRSCHER, she still remained human and didn't hurt anyone. Sadly,
good.
she couldn't have come at any worse time than after the previous era humanity suffered grievously against the
Jesus.
11th HERRSCHER. Rin was
That made me
imprisoned
think
and
of
later slain in the
Devil-
name of
Devil
protecting
Man?
humanity. More tragedy would befall the previous era as the power within her was released upon her death. The virus infected everything in the base she was kept in, and that base contains nuclear weapons. Those
Oh.
nuclear weapons were fired at the last few remaining human cities, wiping them out. This puts the previous era
Yikes.
humanity on its last leg. Luckily, the HERRSCHER was somehow contained in a black box that became the centerpiece of Kallen's story. The black box, initially found by Shixo, was taken away to the Far East by Kallen on the just of stowing whatever's in that box away. That box eventually found its way to Yae Sakura, the current era Sakura. She resonated with the black box and so became the current era 12th HERRSCHER. She was eventually sealed away by Kallen.
Wow.
The
It's a lot
13th
to take
HERRSCHER
in.
is the only HERRSCHER we have no info on, like literally zero. I recently saw some speculation about Elysia possibly being this HERRSCHER, but that's a topic for another video. If you want me to talk about it, then you can tell me in the comments below. Now we reach the last HERRSCHER. The HERRSCHER of the End, better known as the 14th HERRSCHER or the final HERRSCHER, is the ultimate final boss of humanity. We don't know how this HERRSCHER's power work, but the bottom line is that she's overpowered. This HERRSCHER was the last nail in the coffin for the previous era. The looks of this HERRSCHER is based off God Kiana's design from GGC. We don't know whether this HERRSCHER is actually a previous era Kiana or not, but from what we see, she looks very much like her. This led many people to believe that the real Kiana would probably come out sometime in the future as the HERRSCHER of the End, though it's still speculation.
I mean, it's still odd though.
We can
How is she the
clearly
most
see that there
powerful
is
when
some
there's someone who
difference
can
between
nullify
HERRSCHER
the
of the
power?
previous and the current era, like the evolving characteristics of each HERRSCHERs, the order in which they appear, and the never before seen types of HERRSCHERs like Rhymestar and Flame Scion. So with this knowledge, we can use this to form our own expectation on the HERRSCHERs that's yet to come, all while keeping in mind that any future HERRSCHERs may have some tricks never before seen in the past. So that's it for today. What are your favorite HERRSCHERs? Let me know down below in the comments. Until then, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and have a great day.
Okay. Thanks for that tip, man. That was really good.
In Honkai, you have the typical weapons, the guns, the swords, the cannons. That's just a fish. And then you have divine keys. Those things in the stowaway room you can access by the door menu. And that doesn't even have all the divine keys. So today I will be telling you what divine keys are out there right now, how they came into fruition, what they could do, who is in possession of these things, and also talk a bit about sacred relics. So these weapons were created in the previous era as a response to the loot drops they got
What is
from
this?
defeating HERRSCHERs. They got their hands on these weird gems, which they thought was what's powering these things. It was, so they decided to make weapons out of it. The purpose of these weapons were to aid the past civilization in defeating the Honkai. But as we all know, they failed, so these weapons became relics of the past, being kept by the major organizations in the Honkaiverse today. The initial batch were a bunch of general purpose weapons called sacred relics. These things were used before the much stronger Divine Keys were invented. But unlike Divine Keys, Sacred Relics isn't as relevant, and if I'm not mistaken, the only time we ever see these things used was in the hand of Durandal during her visual novel trip. But if you know about any other instances, then please feel free to share. The most similar thing between Sacred Relics and Divine Keys is that both of them have a number assigned to each one. The difference being that the number found on a Sacred Relic serves absolutely no purpose at all apart from distinction, while the number on each Divine Keys tells us what HERRSCHER core it was made from, and by extension, what kind of power the key might possess. There are a total of 12 Divine Keys that we have information on. There could possibly be more, but we wouldn't know that for sure. I'm going to talk about each one in order of numbers, so here we go. The first Divine Key is the Void Archives. As the name suggests, it has the power of the HERRSCHER of Reason. It's a golden cube that comes with a sentient AI who decides which person is worthy of wielding itself. Only when you are deemed worthy can you use the power this Divine Key has to offer.
So it has like lots of
knowledge dating back to the previous era, which only the wielder can access. It can recreate anything the wielder understands, which for the current wielder Auto is usually a Divine Key, though it's a much weaker copy of the original. If you're good enough.
So if you can create things that you understand, that means that it can create weapons as long as you understand the mechanics of how that weapon has been created, right? Except I'm wrong, that's the way I'm getting the gist of it. Wow, let's keep going.
Enough, you essentially have a pocket toolbox to deal with any situation you may come across, not just combat. And now that I think about it, hypothetically speaking, if you can choose a single Divine Key for your personal use, which Divine Key would it be and why? You can look at the rest of the Divine Keys as I go through them and give you your answer at the end down below. Anyways, this Divine Key is perhaps the most unique because it's also a pretty important character, playing the central antagonist role in a post-Honkai Odyssey, which I made a video on a while back. You can know more from the top right hand corner. With that said, the second Divine Key is in the form of a big locomotive. It was the main plot point in both London Holiday and the second key manga. During this time, Su was in possession of this thing, which he was using as ordered by the directives from Dr. May. It was codenamed Valuka. It's basically just using the Divine Key to find a way to defeat the Honkai. This is done by using the Divine Key to grant access to various other universes to see which of them found a way. You can read it from the link to the official manga website down below to know the full story, but anyways, the key can also create bubble worlds for people to sit in, which is where Su was chilling all these years before the events of the manga. Right now, HERRSCHER is in possession of this Divine Key and has been repeatedly using it lately. This key seems to be very important to what Auto's trying to do right now in chapter 26. We just need to wait and see. The third Divine Key is unlike any other Divine Keys by having multiple forms which appear depending on who's holding the weapon. In case of the current wielder Raven, it's a really strong railgun, though in that form you cannot shoot it too often or it might break.
Okay, funny enough, the other one says that it goes to different dimensions, you know, or the other parallel walls or whatever, to see how they defeated the Honkai. I think that's what I got. If I'm wrong, explain a bit down below. But I think the things are just going really quickly, but I believe he wrote there that none of them found a way, which is quite funny, to be honest. That means that they are still on their last leg, and then if they fail in the current whatever world they are, it has to reset and go to another one. Whew, that's a lot. Well, this railgun.
There's really nothing about this Divine Key other than big gun goes boom. So the fourth Divine Key. The fourth Divine Key has the power to manipulate the weather and alter the environment. It was used to purify the contaminated earth over a long period of time following the fall of the previous era civilization. It is precisely because of this Divine Key healing the earth that gave rise to the current era civilization. HERRSCHER somehow got their hands on this thing and has used it to heal the damage done by Sirin during second eruption. The Divine Key was a plot point in the Alien Space manga, after which it was never seen again. The sixth Divine Key is the Abyss Flower, which has the ability to decompose or regenerate matter. These are the two main functions of the weapon. You are able to split the weapon into two, and they each carry one of the functions of the weapon. You can use this weapon to quickly one-shot stuff or use it to heal someone back up from near death. So corpses wouldn't do you any good in this case. Looking at you, Auto. You can also turn the weapon into the magical bean from Jack and the Beanstalk if you want. This weapon was used by many influential characters starting from Rihanna. She used it to save many people such as Schrödinger and to commit die near the end of the AE visual novel. The weapon was used by Cecilia to defeat Sirin during second eruption, and for the current user Durandal, she hasn't done anything impressive with it yet other than that one time in Arc City. The Judgment of Shamash is probably the most famous among any divine keys. This flaming sword has the award for slaying the most HERRSCHERs, but as powerful as the 7th divine key is, unfortunately it comes with a great downside. The weapon is prone to cause harm to its wielder because of the amount of heat the thing produces. As such, the weapon is usually split into dual pistols for safety reasons. The only group of people capable of using some of the divine key's power without immediately dying are the Kaslanas, and they're still not even immune to it. Many Kaslanas had used too much of the weapon's power and ended up dying for it. Some notable users are Siegfried and Kevin. Currently, the weapon is in the hand of Kevin after he politely requests for the weapon to be peacefully taken away from Siegfried. The 8th divine key, Fang Huan Dao, had always been Fu Huo's personal divine key weapon. The weapon can manipulate brain signals, which can be used to easily interrogate or take control of people, whether by sending them into unending dreams or showing them an illusion they are forced to believe. Fu Huo has used this divine key to great effect, the most notable being binding her sentience to Kiana's, which allowed her to cheat death after she got shot by Oro in Chapter 9. The 9th divine key is the Star of Eden. Who could possibly be the user of this weapon? It can manipulate gravity, which can be used to create black holes. The thing with this weapon is that it was destroyed in 1955 during the Anti-Entropy visual novel. But the scraps has been salvaged by AE and manufactured into various kinds of weapons, which are the things we see in use today. The most popular form of this weapon is the Star of Eden, used by Workjoyce, Wolfreal, and Cloned, along with Work Yang. The 10th divine key goes by various names, because there were 1,000 of them produced, but not many are left today. You have the standard issue Sun Yuan sword, which was given notably to Ji Sun Yuan, who was fighting the Honkai before that was cool. The weapon may take a different form in certain circumstances, like the grips of Taishuan that Fu Huo has. But overall, the copies are usually a sword that may have control over an element. It's just about which one you get. I would dub this weapon the RNG key. Moving on, the Oath of Judah is the 11th divine key, great for bondage play on your first day. Otherwise, it's used to nullify Honkai energy by creating a field which seizes any bodily function, which is lethal to basically anyone, even the user. The notable includes Kalen and Teresa. It can also be used as a club to savagely beat your enemy to death. The 12th divine key is considered non-canon because of the inconsistencies in the manga, though it can be found as a weapon in-game. We know basically nothing about this weapon, so I think I'll move on. And it's getting way too long. The exception to the number rule for divine keys is the key of blankness, being the only unnumbered divine key on this list, or the key of the void, whatever you want to call it. I'll call it blankness to avoid confusion with the second HERRSCHER. So this divine key is an armor that is able to give the wearer HERRSCHER powers, depending on which gem is integrated into the suit. You may realize that this image looks similar to Vermilion Knight because it is. This divine key puts a heavy burden on its user, like Dr. May and Himeko. It causes the weapon to be put on hold because of this safety hazard. Sadly, the previous era didn't get a chance to fix the weapon's shortcoming, but it still did not prevent Himeko from using it in Chapter 9. Lastly, you may realize that I skipped the 5th and the 13th divine key, and that's because we don't know anything about these weapons, if it even exists. I'd like to thank you for making it to the end of the video. If I missed anything you thought I should have mentioned, then please leave it down below. And also, if you could choose one divine key for your personal use, which would it be, and why?
Okay. Very interesting. Let me pause a little bit. So guys, everyone who looks at this will definitely have to take the knowledge one, man. It makes so much sense to choose that one over anything else, right? Because the sword that any of the girls use, you don't know one of the swords, you don't know its powers. The one that Himeko used has some issues with it, and they didn't repair it, no fail safe, whatever he was explaining. And the one that the Kaslana family uses can harm you, you know. There's no point in using that one, though you could separate it into two guns. Basically, just have the knowledge to create whatever will be useful to you. You know, even if you're not creating the same thing like those HERRSCHER weapons, you could basically craft it maybe, or something close to it. I think everyone will be mad not to take the knowledge weapon power, one of the first keys anyway, the first key he explained. So that would be too weird, except there is something that those who play the games, if anyone watching this is playing the game and has experience with that key, there's an issue with it that I don't know, which wasn't mentioned in the video. But normally, just from explaining that to me, it will pretty much be a given for me to just jump straight into it and get that. But well, let's get into the next video. Descent into madness. Who is Odo? I
Fuck
think we
you,
know a bit.
fuck you, you're cool, and fuck you, I'm out.
The movie that is being used for that image, please, if someone knows
Few
what
characters
that
in
movie is,
Honkai
tell
have
me.
an infamous reputation among the community. Even if their reputation isn't exactly great, they would often have some redeeming qualities that enable fans of the game to at least understand where they're coming from, or even just a little, be able to sympathize with them. Characters such as Siren and Kirin is a great example of this. However, this doesn't really apply to Auto Apocalypse. Otto is best described by the word unpredictable. You can't really guess what exactly he's going to do before it's too late. Sometimes he does some admirable things, and another time he becomes a big piece of Otto saved a lot of people by creating the cure for this universe version of the Black Plague. We see how Otto took care of Teresa as her grandfather in the first Chronicle story, which admittedly was pretty decent. On one hand, he did contribute to society in some good ways, and on the other, he's committing many horrible acts behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
I watched
What
that
this
as well,
creates
so
is
I was
a
like, what the
situation where
hell?
parts of the community would call Otto by various names, ranging from the true villain to something like an anti-hero. The truth is, Otto's actions usually have some ulterior motive behind them. So we need to
Exactly.
keep this in
What
mind,
I was
especially
thinking.
when looking at actions that seems to make Otto look good. The actions I mentioned have something in common with each other, and that is, it's related to his obsession with a certain someone he holds dear.
Yeah,
Of
Kallen.
course, talking about Kallen Kaslana, who was
Yeah.
deceased long before the game story starts. Otto's motivation for creating the cure was that he thought Kallen would leave him if he didn't. I don't know why he thinks this way, but let's just go with it. Otto adopted Teresa partly because he saw that Teresa acted like Kallen. It's not an
Yeah.
overstatement to say that Otto is way too obsessed over Kallen. Every source material reinforces the idea that Otto would do anything for Kallen. He's constantly looking for ways to revive her. He created clones and androids of her, of which notable go by the name of Teresa and Amber respectively. The thing with Otto is that we would often see him working in the best interest for everyone, but if there's anything that catches his attention, like say a way to revive Kallen, then he would just drop whatever he's doing in favor of that thing that interests him. We
Damn.
cannot talk about Otto without mentioning Shixel. As the head of the organization, Otto holds tremendous amounts of power. Shixel supposedly exterminate Honkai threats, but many times some could say that Otto isn't as interested in getting rid of the Honkai as much as he wants to fulfill his own desires. This was what some
The
members
man
of the
is
organization
simping.
thought.
The
As
guy
we
is
know,
simping
a group of
hard.
these members went on to mutiny and created anti-entropy. To us viewers, the idea of doubting Otto's commitment to exterminating the Honkai was brought forward fairly early by the Sirin project, Otto's most notorious plan, intended for the study of the HERRSCHER of the Void power, and ultimately the control of it. Through sci-fi magic, it explained the creation of the time fracture system present in-game, but I'm sure that we all know the biggest impact this project had.
I don't know. Oh damn! When
The creation
Kiana.
of clone K423 and subsequently the reawakening of the HERRSCHER of the Void have had massive impact that set the tone of the story, which is still going till this day at chapter 24. For the sake of clarification going forward into this video, I'll call clone K423 Kiana and the HERRSCHER of the Void Sirin. Anyways, victory against Sirin, if you can even call it that, was paid dearly by those involved. The fact that is
Yeah.
often overlooked was that Otto intended to have Sirin squashed, with Kiana taking back control of the body. Otto estimated that Kiana would take back control once the first death occurred from anyone close to her. It's just a matter of who it would be.
Oh snap! So he had anticipated that. Like what the hell? So he knew that they would need some sort of trigger of someone so important in her life to get control. Oh damn. Okay. He's definitely a true villain then. Well, I mean, he's definitely simping. There's nothing I can add to that.
A human is easier to control than a HERRSCHER. It's a statement
shit,
from
okay.
Otto that I cannot help but agree with. Suppose Otto held something or someone that Kiana cannot abandon as hostage. Otto then can put out whatever demands he wants, and Kiana wouldn't have much choice but to accept it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Man says,
We can
"Call me
safely say
B."
that Otto's over-obsession with Kalen negatively impacts anyone around him. The tools he had at his disposal, like the Void Archives, allowing him to access immense knowledge and power, such as mimicking divine keys for users and Solium avatars that allowed him to be.
What did I say? What did I say? Okay, what did I say? Having the thing of knowledge, doing the same thing as any of the other keys would have been the best. I mean, he's not the strongest mate for sure, but having that key of knowledge is definitely putting him on a pedestal. I think it just depends on whoever has it. You know, whoever has it will know how to use it way more better. Okay, good that I'm kind of listening to this and able to analyze a few things. I mean, okay, I'm enjoying this, though I'm not always getting every, like, there's a massive lore behind the story of Honkai. Like, it's so massive, and I know a lot. Maybe I'll make even videos about it in the future, I don't know, but I'll probably still make mistakes because I'm not reading the manga or any of that thing. I just don't have the time, but I'm happy to be checking these videos whenever I can. I mean, it's so much interesting that they could create such a massive war with a lot of things like this. Shout out to those guys.
Basically be unkillable, poses a major threat to any of our characters in the universe. Otto hasn't done much lately after recently getting demolished by a very angry Fuhua after reviving her, but that was probably only one of his avatar anyway, so it's nothing really. Right now, who knows what he's up to? He could be looking for an opportunity to snatch Kiana again, or maybe something much sinister. Until then, that's about it for today. I'd like to thank all of you for all the support recently. It really helps keep me going. Let me know down below which character you would like to see next.
Follow this guy. I don't know who he is, but he's on his game. He's on a roll to be explaining this game.
This is the Firemorph, the previous era humans united front against the Honkai. These people brought victory over HERRSCHER after HERRSCHER until they didn't and get destroyed along with the civilization. So I've been thinking about all the factors
so they were able to kill lots
their
of
downfall,
HERRSCHERs.
and in that I discovered something that may help us discover the true nature of the Honkai. Today I want to talk to you about a fundamental aspect of Firemorph that I think left them doomed, and why this is so important to the current storyline.
I mean, it would be difficult to say that you know what the true intention of Honkai is. I think that's what he said. Because like I said earlier on, I read a lot of you guys comment, and one of the things I read was Honkai is basically anything that could basically destroy humanity. You know, negative emotions, plagues, diseases, bad luck, maybe even a black cat. You know, so it's kind of like an entity. Not what can I even say? An entity, maybe like a wheel that's just basically created anything or manifesting in any sort of way to finish humanity, or that humanity shouldn't develop per se. That's what I kind of got from all the comments I was reading. But whatever he's going to say, let's listen to it.
To explain this, I need to first talk about the purpose of HERRSCHERs. The definition given on HERRSCHERs when they first appeared is that they were a new type of Honkai that were created to destroy humans. From the surface it seems reasonable, but here's where this might change. You see, HERRSCHERs are different from other Honkai entities in that HERRSCHERs are converted from a live human, unlike say a Honkai beast that are just created out of thin air. With Honkai beasts or zombies, they are mindless beings that only wants to destroy, with nothing else. HERRSCHERs on the other hand have a mind of their own, able to monologue on how much they hate and want to destroy humanity and all those stuffs. But in some circumstances, HERRSCHERs may become disinterested in doing so. Examples like Rin initially, Kiana, and Mei. But why does this happen? Well, think of it this way. Imagine you want to do something, like say water your plants, which is more efficient. Have a person water them by hand when the person may slack off and just do anything he or she desires, or have a mindless machine that will continue doing what you tell it to do as long as it got the juices for it. I think you see where this is going. If the Honkai create HERRSCHERs to destroy humanity, like what people say they do, Then why allow HERRSCHERs to disobey and just do whatever they want? Does the Honkai really not foresee that their creation may not just do what it's supposed to do? Are the Honkai just stupid? I'm gonna assume that the Honkai is not stupid, and the fact that HERRSCHERs have a mind of their own was a deliberate choice. What this could mean is that there are other motives behind why HERRSCHERs are not just mindless beings that only wants to destroy humans. So how does this tie into why Firemorph was doomed to fail? To understand this, let's look at how they treated HERRSCHERs in their era. When a HERRSCHER appears, they seem to immediately attempt to kill it right away, always. An exception to this was the initially harmless previous era HERRSCHER of corruption, Rin, which they chose to imprison instead. Still, it's safe to say that HERRSCHERs were not treated well by anyone, understandably so. But this also goes for normal humans, whose suffering are so often justified in the name of humanity. When we look at all the HERRSCHER's backstory we know about, it always seems to start from them being treated poorly before deciding that they want to destroy everything. Ren was isolated, making her feel discontent and afraid. This feeling ultimately became hate, which was released upon her death. So when Firemorph treat people and by extension HERRSCHERs like crap, they are indirectly digging themselves a deeper hole that will be increasingly hard to get out of. In fact, with the right circumstances, HERRSCHERs may just decide not to be a threat to anyone, or at least believe they aren't. Firemorph was always so focused on overpowering the Honkai, doing so by committing various questionable actions. Looking at you, Mobius, whether it be
whoever that Mobius person is, but he did mention something really interesting and really crucial. I think the organization he's talking about is Moth or whatever, however it's been said. But if they weren't treating these quote-unquote humans that acquired these HERRSCHER powers, set them in the right environment, without them developing all these negative emotions, hatred and whatever, some of the bad things that happen wouldn't have led to it. But them greedy humans who don't think properly keep setting themselves up to get messed in the end. I mean, that's how I got it. If I'm saying something wrong, always, guys, if you are trying to correct me or anything I said, maybe just put like a timestamp. Timestamps are very important. I can easily detect what I said and at what particular point, so it can trigger what I was thinking at the moment. But if you just come and comment sometime, I wouldn't really know. Maybe put a timestamp next time. That will help a lot. Thank you. Let's move forward.
forcing people into test subjects or genetically modifying humans to be able to use Honkai powers.
Yeah.
They had the prime opportunity to figure things
Sending
out
them
when
on
they
suicide
created Ren,
missions.
the 12th HERRSCHER. But instead of reassuring her or providing her with the support she needs to figure this out, instead they treat her like some kind of environmental hazard and imprison her. And look how that ended up.
Yep.
So basically,
She was
Firemorph
basically
needs to
poisoned.
embrace the power of friendship. Jokes aside, at the end of the day, some could say that humans plays a bigger part in their own downfall than any
for sure.
other external factors. The true goal of the Honkai may not be to only destroy humanity, but to instead act as a trial for humans to get past, or any civilization really. Remember the Sky People? Those aliens we fought in post-Honkai Odyssey. Those guys were supposedly able to trump over the Honkai and use it to satisfy their species. That's why they invaded Earth in the first place, to gather more Honkai energies to satisfy their goals. Humans could find ways to make use of Honkai powers like...
Wait, is it talking about the aliens that he mentioned some in maybe 1 or 2 videos ago, where he said the chapter where they fought some aliens or something? Is that the race he's talking about? Where in their planet or in their world, the triumph over the Honkai thing? Very interesting. Don't forget to explain, guys, if I'm wrong, or to just give me a broader, more perspective.
They do with nuclear powers. They could either use it to create ever more destructive things that may or may not come back and bite them in the ass down the line, or alternatively, use it to make better lives for everybody. Perhaps this may be what some people realize, but that's a topic for another video. This is all I have for today, so what are your definitions for the Honkai? Let me know down below in the comments.
Okay, very interesting there. Very interesting.
When it comes to science fiction, Honkai Impact comes with the usual tropes found in...
Oh man, when you have internet that sucks, this is what you get. Okay, try and go back.
When it comes to science fiction, Honkai Impact comes with the usual tropes found in...
What's happening here?
most other sci-fi titles, stuff like advanced technology and cloning. But the thing I want to talk about today is parallel worlds. You see, ever since the release of Coloston, I have been trying to wrap my head around the narrative surrounding the recent story. It's about something called the imaginary tree. A quick Google search would give you descriptions like,
it is the origin of life itself, as all universes and bubble worlds are born there. The Sea of Quanta swells while
You
the
just
imaginary
still
tree extends
tree.
its roots. The Sea of Quanta wants to flood the tree, meanwhile the imaginary...
You know what, I have no clue what half of these even mean, so let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
I'll be taking the terminology thrown around in the story about parallel worlds and simplifying it to make it easier for you or anyone interested to understand.
That's the second divine key.
I want to
thing
first start from
or
the
whatever.
term imaginary tree. The imaginary tree is like an apartment. There are many rooms, each a living, breathing world. Honkai Impact, Genshin Impact. Normally these are called leaves. The tree sends you a vibe check in the form of what we call the Honkai. They come in many forms, ranging from eldritch beings to a cute girl. If a world dies in whatever ways, it will become a floating mess in what we
So
call
Genshin
the
and
Sea of
Honkai
Quanta.
are
Most of the
related,
stuff
kind
here
of?
doesn't really make any sense because these are all scraps from the dead and decayed worlds. But sometimes you can come
don't even know
across a
what
bubble
Genshin
where
Impact
things
is
actually
anyway.
make sense. We call them bubble universes. These things are held together by what we call the ether anchor. Think of the bubble universe's world created for Bronya using his core of reason as the ether anchor. Say we wanna get around the place. What sort of options do we have? Mostly you would need to use the power of the HERRSCHER of the Void because the power allows easy access to different dimensions. At the moment right now, it would either come from the second divine key or the currently alive HERRSCHER, Kiana herself. This is by far the most versatile option, unlike some other tools like the Eye of the Deep or the Genius device, which only get you into the Sea of Quanta. There are other little things that is introduced as the story goes on, but generally, the ones I brought up here are the noteworthy ones. All of these methods have some limitation in the form of navigating the place, which is difficult because the body of the multiverse is said to be massive. You are prone to getting lost and ending up floating around until you bump into a bubble world by chance, like what happened to Schrödinger. So even Kiana with her void power needs to be careful.
He says Schrödinger.
On the topic of the HERRSCHER of the Void, you might often hear the term imaginary space being thrown around when talking about the pocket dimension created by the Void HERRSCHER and also the theater of domination from the Domination HERRSCHER. The term imaginary space is a bit complicated because no one seems to know what it is definitively. Like, I kid you not, I've come across at least 4 different definitions that I cannot verify which is the most accurate. You can listen to the definition I'm about to give on the imaginary space and then maybe give your own down below. Anyway, the imaginary space is something that we know exists but can't really represent in the 3D space. It's like the Nether from Minecraft. We have ways to access it, but we don't know where it actually is located. You will not find the Nether no matter how far you dig to find it. The imaginary space is just another separate dimension which we know little on how it actually interacts with ours, and that's probably the best way to put it. You know how you can fast travel by going through the Nether? Like how moving a block in the Nether equals to moving 8 in the overworld? Because that seems to be what Kiana is doing. Some of the time when the imaginary space was brought up is in the missing chapter from the Divine Key manga about the Key of Blankness armor. It says that HERRSCHERs draw their power from the imaginary space, which the armor was intended to replicate. Hopefully this video has been useful in clearing up certain things for you. Keep in mind that I might be missing some information that will probably be revealed as we go further into chapter 27 and beyond.
Okay. Believe this is the last video. Bronya and Sailor Stone. Okay. Who was Bronya sent to eliminate? Oh. What, she was being bullied? Who's the other girl that has like half eye stuff like trying to understand something here. Damn. Lots of sauce moment, but okay. What? Okay. That is it, guys. That is it for the video. A lot of confusing thing right there at the end with the Bronya and Seele thing. So here's what I got from that little clip or whatever that was showing. If the song is a copyrighted thing, you'll probably not hear it anyway. So Bronya was probably sent to kill someone, and she couldn't do it. She fainted, and then she got taken in by some sort of school. She met Seele. Seele was bullied, and then they're probably doing some experimenting going on. She decided to take Sele's place, and they went kind of back and forth. Oh, I'll protect her because she's my friend. And there were times they'll bully Bronya, and then Seele was hiding because she was too scared, you know. And then she picked up the courage to do something, and then they did some effed up manipulation shit on Bronya. What else happened in that video? And they tried to dispose of her. Yes, they tried to dispose of her, but then probably they didn't succeed. And what was holding them so much on their promise was to go to the beach. Alright, that was a love story for you. Want to give more details, you are free to go down below in the comment. And don't forget to put a timestamp. Tell me a lot more if you know about this more than I know. And don't forget to like and subscribe and add more perspective. I'd love to hear it. A lot of you guys are watching but not subscribing. At least subscribe, you know. It doesn't hurt, doesn't do anything, and it helps the channel grow. Your likes will help the YouTube algorithm recommend my other stuff that you're probably not watching to other channels that will check it out. See you in the next one. Stay safe and cheers.